Hare Krishna. Welcome to our channel, Bhagavad-gita as it is. The book is Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The channel is Bhagavad-gita. Here it is, because we have it. And my name is Labangala Tika. We are in the last few verses of text of chapter 13. So stay with us.
Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalang.
So I start with the Sanskrit, because I really appreciate, even if I don't understand it at all, but just by reading it over and over, you pick up some of the terms, and the sound is of Krishna's conversation with Arjuna. So what's not to like? Anaditvan nirgurnatvat paramatmayam avyayaha sharirastho pikaunteya nakaroti nalipyate. Those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. Yes, those with the vision of eternity. We may not have that vision, but we can have the philosophical understanding. And it's actually very helpful sometimes to go back to that perspective, because we're in the world, we meet people, we meet opinions and activities in this world that are, frankly speaking, sometimes very terrible. And that we can acknowledge, and that we can try to show an alternative. But the person is still that same eternal spirit soul. And if we can have that vision, it changes the world. Purport. A living entity appears to be born because of the birth of the material body, but actually the living entity is eternal. He is not born, and in spite of his being situated in a material body, he is transcendental and eternal. Thus he cannot be destroyed. By nature he is full of bliss. He does not engage himself in any material activities. Therefore, the activities performed due to his contact with the material bodies do not entangle him. Yes, so we've been reading the whole Bhagavad-gita, and we've been understanding karma, and we're understanding this cycle of samsara, birth and death, the entanglement in this world, the result of our activities, the law of karma, that we have to come back over and over and experience the result of the activities we have performed previously. And here, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled, and Prabhupada confirms that. The activities performed due to his contact with material bodies do not entangle him. So how do we understand it? Both perspectives are, of course, true. We should be aware of the law of karma. We should be aware that we don't end with this body, we continue. And whatever we have contributed to this world, in this body, will follow us, will bring us some results, good or bad. But those results bind us here, and we feel we become entangled. But ultimately, the soul is not touched by these things. It's just like when you have water and oil, and you can mix it, and it looks like one substance. But if you let it sit, the oil will float up on top, and you can separate them again. So the soul does not stick to this world, but we're in this world because we wanted an alternative to the spiritual world. The spiritual world is a fantastic place, and we will hear about it, and we have heard about it. Everything is conscious, everything is eternal. Everybody is fully self-realized, knowing who they are and what they want, and they are engaging there in relationships with Krishna in different capacities and in different types of relationships and different desires in the spiritual world. Everything is built on the desires, but those desires do not create friction and conflict, because all the desires are focused around that loving relationship with Krishna. So sometimes we are serving together with other devotees. Of course, most of the time you're not just standing with Krishna. in a parking lot with nothing around you, but everything is alive, the trees, the flowers, the cows. Krishna loves his cows so much, and the friends are serving together. It's a beautiful place. But if we have a desire to forget Krishna, we're not going to like it. So Krishna has given us this world. Sometimes we hear about God as the creator, like that's the starting point. I know in the biblical tradition we hear about how God created the world in 6 days, and on the seventh day he looked at what he'd done and he took a little break. And that's kind of where it starts. And then we turn up and we can find God and turn to God and appreciate him because he's the creator of the world. But he's so much more. He has his own place. He doesn't exactly just whimsically, because sometimes I know this time, and I'm conditioned by it also. We have a rather atheistic culture, and the tendency is we're making fun of the religions. Why would we think that God created the world? That is really not the perspective of the Bhagavad-gita. It's the other way around. Obviously, God created the world. But why did he create the world, and what else does he do? He's not just our engineer. We move into a house and some architect drew it and some building company put it together. But once the house is ready, we move in, and we may sometimes occasionally think about that stage when it was all kind of a creation. But we don't care very much. It's our house. We do our things there. The creator is out of the picture. So that is a very limited perspective of God. That he just creates the world and then he wants us to come back to him. And yeah, it's not a very interesting story really. And it is made fun of a lot. Why would we think the world was done in 7 days? We can see how long we measure and dig and figure things out. Yeah, but that is a certain narrative just to give us an idea. There are many different ways of describing the creation. You go into the Bhagavatam and you can see a quite complex understanding of how things got put in place here. But why are they here? They are here because Krishna put them here directly or indirectly. And the word fills a function. It fills many functions, because Krishna usually when he does something, there are many reasons. So it's a place for us when we want to avoid Krishna. It's also a place for us when we want to come back to Krishna, take up a process for our own self-realization and for connecting to the Supreme. So that's, our nature is eternal. Just like oil, it doesn't really matter how much you stir. As soon as you let go, it will separate from the water. So the soul is not really connected with the body, even if it appears so. In this material world, while we're in it, it's very important to understand how it works, so we don't by mistake get entangled, get some karma that we really don't want to get, or miss the opportunity to go back to the spiritual world. So we have to understand it up to a point. But here we're making a different point. We're not this body. We will never be this body. We are not of this world. And even if we are entangled here for a very long time, that is basically an illusion. And basically it's an illusion that it's possible to wake up from and find our real spiritual identity. I think I will take another verse, text 33. Yatha sarvagatang saukshmyad akashang nopalipyate sarvatra vastito dehe tathatma nopalipyate. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all-pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, though situated in that body. So we do hear here at this part of the chapter, we hear about the person who has this spiritual vision. So when we don't have that spiritual vision, this is theory, but it's possible to come to the point where this is actually realized knowledge. That is also quite obvious. That is not just some some hopeful idea that this world is more than what meets the eye, but an actually realized reality. Purport: the air enters into water, mud, stool, and whatever else is there. Still, it does not mix with anything. Similarly, the living entity, even though situated in varieties of bodies, is aloof from them due to his subtle nature. Therefore, it is impossible to see with the material eyes how the living entity is in contact with his body and how he is out of it after the destruction of the body. No one in science can ascertain this. Yeah, that's also interesting. I'm not, deeply, I haven't studied science deeply, but I think it's interesting sometimes you pick up. I was listening to a discussion about artificial intelligence, and they were discussing it from different angles, and they had one lady there. She was a professor. She knew the whole science very well, and she was putting it into practice, and she was studying it in different ways. And she brought up this point that artificial intelligence, you can teach it almost anything. You start it off and you situate it in such a way that it picks up more knowledge on its own. It's quite impressive, almost miraculous, but it's just science. It's just technology. Somebody can create it, somebody can code it, and they can develop it better and better. But she said one thing that is interesting, and that is, what is the difference? What will always be the difference between artificial intelligence and an actual person? She said artificial intelligence doesn't have a drive, doesn't have a desire, doesn't get up and think, I want to do this today. It will just do what it's coded to do. And that in that field it will develop more and more, because that's the whole point. But it will not get up one morning and think, I don't think I want to do this. I think I want to go for a walk instead, or study ancient Egypt, or call up my friends. Because there is no consciousness, there is no person, and there is no this drive of desire is not there. So that separates the soul from everything else in this world. And that's important to understand. So at least that much we can understand. So the soul is always different from everything it mixes with. And once that thing is finished, like this body will be finished at one point. I know when I joined this movement and I was listening to Bhagavad-gita classes, and somebody would say, oh yes, this is short lifetime. And I'm like, short? It's not short. I'm like 20 and I'm looking forward to years and years and years. But I'm like on the other end of it, and I can see whatever I have left is less than what I've already experienced. And at that point the body will disintegrate gradually. It will no longer be suitable for the soul to inhabit. So the soul has to continue, has to go to the next place. And that point will come with everybody, whether it's a human being or an animal or a plant or anything. They live for some time, and when they do no longer function, the soul will move on. And then the example here is the sky or air, and we can see that also. Like we can put air somewhere. You can if you have a jar or a bottle or something and there are some air bubbles in it, as soon as you open it, the air will go out. The air doesn't stay. The air doesn't merge with any other element. It's always its own separate element. And so is the soul. The soul is not, like we say that over and over. And in the second chapter we focus more on what the soul is. And here we're seeing that vision to understand what is what and what isn't. Because we look at this world and we get like the whole picture. But when we analyze it a little bit, we want to come to this understanding that whatever we see in this world, the main factor is the fact that we are here. We are living entities and we are here. And we really don't have to. Thank you so much. We will continue the next time. We will take the next verse, and I hope to have you with us. You're very welcome to ask questions, and we have playlist for all the chapters we've already been through, because we've been going on for 4 years now, which is a little bit amazing. And I'm very thankful that you're here with us, and I hope you will come back. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.